sports and conditioning coach. I was introduced to him through Phiwe, whom I had on the show to talk about pregnancy. Mr. Mabena, please introduce yourself to the people. Let them know about you, bro.
Thank you very much for having me on your show. My name is Phiwe Mabena.
Yep.
I'm a sports scientist and a coach who has expertise in performance analysis, sports science conditioning, tactical coaching, and diverse coaching experience in certain aspects of coaching. I'm still young. I'm 22-year-old. I'm still growing, and I am very addicted to sports and very addicted mostly to football. Most of the time I work in football, but I'm an all-rounder in the sporting fraternity. But most of my time I spend a lot doing football work, and I'm working with individuals one-on-one, mostly footballers for their conditioning, athletes who are based in amateur leagues like ABC Motsepe, SAB, and the NFD at the highest level. So that's me, and I'm fun and outgoing. So that's me.
Yeah. Well, how did you get into sports science? How did you decide, okay, I'm going to now study sports science? Were you playing some form of sports in your days?
Yeah, I started playing sports, of course, from a school sports system. At primary school, of course, there was athletics season and there was ball sports or winter sports season. I was discovered that I had a lot of talent in football. So I was discovered by Wits, the academy, when I was 9 years old to go and play at the academy. So the academy scouts young players to structure them in their system in order to make them progress and also be good students at the same time. So I was in that program until I was 17 years old, where I was at my peak. But then, of course, I got a knee injury, ACL injury, and my form was dipping down. It was in 2014, and I thought, nah, man, I can't play anymore. I thought I can play, but you know how knee injuries come back, and I was like, no, but I still want to be in the game. And at the same time, I had a thing of discovering that I I liked coaching. I saw myself I can be a coach because when we used to play, I used to do a lot of hand gestures. If I don't have the ball, I tell the player where to send the ball. Um, Even when I receive the ball, I tell the player where to go. So that's where I discovered that I have a gift in this, and I found out from my conditioning coach. Um, she told me it was a she actually, Unata. She told me that there's a course for sports called sports science. Go for it, and I took it from there, and I studied. I'm still studying, but then I'm studying at a high level. I took it from there, and I got excited to see how broad sports is and how dynamic is the different cultures, the different concepts. Why are we doing this? Because I hated running, but I understood why we had to run, why we had to lift, why we had to do repetitive stuff, and why we had to do stuff like video analysis, which we found interesting, but at the same time, the boardroom is boring when you're chilling there for more like 45 minutes. The coach is hammering you for your mistakes. So it gave me an interest, and it has connected me to people who are quality people, top people in the industry, and I'm grateful for that. So that's how I began sports science.
Would you say that children at a young age, the development of them playing sports is key to how they could live their lives in the future? So I keep wondering how important it is it for children to play sports at a young age?
it's very important. I've been making research about physical education. The South African education system wants to cancel out physical education, but in because they say it's a waste of time, but
That's
it's not
that.
really a waste of time.
That's PT,
Um,
ne, Phiwe? That's PT, ne?
yes, yes,
Okay, yeah, yeah,
physical
yeah,
education,
yeah, yeah,
PT.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, they said it's a waste of time because it's depleting the curriculum, you know.
Mm.
Uh, but then at the same time, there was a time where I went with a friend. We were doing testing. I said, friend, I need us to test why are children so obese
Yeah.
in this generation, because the last decade, my friends that I knew at school had like a few obese kids in primary school, but now like everyone is getting bigger, everyone is getting taller, you know, and it's way above their age for their weight. So we tested, we saw the normative data, and we asked schools, how often do you have PT? They're like, no, we just play sports, that's it, and they don't have a proper curriculum to make children fall in love with sports, you
Mm.
know, because most of the development of a child through exploring, it's through play, irrespective of literature and reading and all that. They discover things through play. You would think a child is naughty by climbing up a cupboard, but of course, that's already a physical activity. They're training those muscles, they're training those bones and ligaments. So I feel like it needs to be done well at a school level, because that's where children, you would detect this child suffers from hand-eye coordination. This child suffers from foot-eye coordination. This child suffers from mobility, balance, just by simple things. Letting a child play hopscotch, you'd see, okay, this child is suffering from understanding where's left and understanding where is right. Because there are still kids who are 5 years old who don't know where's their left and where's their right, you know, and
It's
and
scary.
and it's scary because if you're doing left and right, and if you're doing stuff like hopscotch, that will enhance stuff like your vestibular system. Your vestibular system know that, okay, I'm balancing here, I need to do this, um, of course, and other systems in your body. I mean, that's how children can be developed, you know.
Mm.
And the most important one, which every coach or trainer sticks to, is the ABCs: the agility, the balance, and the control.
Mm.
So the agility, of course, you need to train the child to know how to move from left to right. The balance is, of course, balancing from jumping and landing properly. Then the control, how can you control your body in certain planes of motion? So I think that's why I think it is important to train certain fundamentals, because they will
Mm.
start loving sports, because sports is a multi-diverse movement pattern. If they get those fundamentals properly from a physical education or PT points of view, they can move properly in a sport dynamics. Because you might find a child who's 7 still can't kick a ball when they come to trial for a team, maybe an under 9 team, and you like, what has this child been doing his past 3 years in his
Mm.
development?
Mm.
And you would know that he's been sitting at home playing PlayStation, or just, or not exposed into a playing environment. Maybe you might find his or her parents live in a flat, and the flat
Yeah.
is congested and there's no play sports. So that's the school's responsibility to give the child fun.
Yeah, because it's really scary to think that even right now, as we speak, the some parts are trying to be taken away from sports in children. For instance, I was reading somewhere that they want to try and get them to play sports in such a way that there is no winner or loser in it.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay.
they're trying to take away that part of winning and losing. I don't think that is right, because I believe that sports at a young age, it teaches you about winning and losing, and builds your character in such a way that you are able to handle these things as you grow up. But for like me, for instance, I think it was a better idea to not play sports in such, because I ran away from it. I was overweight, and so sometimes they'll have a athletics day, and I would make sure that I don't pitch on that day because my self-esteem was low. But when I look at it today, I'm like, you know what? You need to be challenged at a young age so that you can have the characteristics of dealing with things as you become older. And I think that sports helps you to develop those skills.
Yeah.
Don't you,
I
don't you
think,
think?
yeah, I think so, because I think sports develops the following characteristics. It develops the physical, the emotional, the moral or normative, and the psychological or the cognitive. Those four are the four pillars of everything. Because if you play sports physically, of course, you're getting healthy, and playing sports, there will be emotions, of either feeling jealous of the other opponent because they won, or of either feeling joy because you've won. And you start understanding emotions, and you get triggered for such, wanting this and not wanting that, because you'd see kids crying because they lost a game, and the next game they say, I don't want to lose this game, or I don't want to be in a team that loses. And of course, that's education for them. They developing emotionally, and then morally and normatively is understanding the rules of the game, and understanding things like culture, race. I'm playing with players of certain colors, or certain religions, or certain socio-economic statuses, and then of course there's cognitive, like you said. You need the mental strength to understand that I'm playing sports. I need to win. I need to do this. But if your mental strength is affected, therefore it triggers the emotional state for you not to perform. And if your emotional state is triggered, of course your physical state will not perform, and therefore you'll do bad things morally or normatively, breaking the rules of the game, getting a red card, getting sent off. So that's like a continuum that works simultaneously, either positively or negatively. So I think you are right by saying you kids need sports, and you should have done sports at an early stage to detect those kind of things.
Yeah, because right now, when I think at a young age, you can, especially for I'm going to say for men, I think maybe have we had some men, should they have played sports maybe at a young age, they could have detected that they have a short temper. And this thing of gender-based violence might be a bit lower than what it is right now, because the parents can see, okay, this guy loses his temper very quickly while he's playing with other children. Let's deal with it right now. What might be the reason? What can we do to help him become a better man, and so on? Because I know when you look at things, a lot of guys are losing temper, and then you find out that they didn't play any sports, they don't have relations with other people. Because I like the point that you made out, that when you play sports, you play with different races and cultures and religions and people who believe in this, some don't believe in that.
Yeah,
For instance, you get somebody, you believe in God, and then somebody
yeah,
doesn't, and you didn't know about that. So it's a nice
yeah.
way for children to interact with people from different races.
Yeah, I think with the religion one, I remember back then when I was coaching at Wits, because my team most of the time had a lot of Islamic players.
Yeah.
So it was a challenge back then when it was Ramadan. It was Ramadan month. The squad was getting thinner because they couldn't come a lot to training because of the fasting state, and they can't perform optimally, because it's 40 days fasting, and you can't perform 100% in a fasting state,
Do they
So
pitch for training or not? Do they stop
they pitch.
completely?
Sometimes we have like schedules.
Okay.
Today, this one is today. 10 players who are Islamic are coming. some don't come, some have different prayer times. So it challenged me as a coach, understanding how Islam works, and I appreciated it. Now, if I am to work in a maybe country like Egypt, Morocco, or Algeria, and it's Ramadan week, then I understand. Okay, now it's Ramadan week. I will do maybe plan a 12-week cycle without players of this kind of religion because I need to respect it and they need to regain their strength before they come back. And also now with the thing you're speaking about having anger issues, I think the reason why it's like that also is because in life you should appreciate stuff like tough coaches and all that. You see, coaches that will tell you you didn't do well here and it wasn't good enough today, or coaches who shout, that means you understand why they shout. It's character building, not that they hate you, but you need to
Mm,
get the job done.
mm,
I think I appreciated it that much because it has built me that okay, I don't want to be shouted at, but sometimes when you shouted at, it triggers you to do better, at the same time. And sometimes also, I remember telling my players about addictions. I was telling them I'm addicted to football and I'm addicted to reading books and drinking tea. And it takes my time to do other normal things. But the same way you have an addiction, you should show that addiction in the game. Finish off that addiction in the game. If you have an addiction of not liking me as a coach, then show me that you don't like me as a coach by giving me 3 points. And it works, those kind of things. Because if you see, okay, these players have anger issues and their frustrations, and they give you a solid game, and you like, okay, I think they've taken it all out in the field rather than going to abuse someone or anything like that.
mm. When you look at a player like Suarez, for instance,
Mm,
uh, who was the Tevez also,
mm.
and Mario Balo is who is it? Is it Mario Balotti? Yeah,
Balotelli.
Balotelli.
Yeah.
When you look at those type of players, and how angry or how they tend to lose their temper in the game, do
Mm.
you think that is something they've been brought up with, and some coaches let them be that way, like let him play just as he is, and we'll work with it? Or is it something that you believe can be addressed at a young age?
It can be addressed at a young age because there's a Zulu saying which I'll explain. It
Okay.
says "Likojwal sempan." You
Okay.
bend the tree while it's still soft,
Yeah.
because when it's hard, when you try to fix it or align it, it gets broken.
Mm.
You know. So with Balotelli, it would have worked earlier on. You know.
I think he was
Um,
spoiled, that one. He was spoiled from a young age.
I think so, but I think also with things like him experiencing racism on a
Okay.
daily
Okay.
basis, him being Italian, people felt weird when he's Italian and he's black, and it didn't really work, things like that. But then there's no excuse for you to not perform uh, at the highest level, especially if you're getting that kind of pay. You need to perform optimally. You need to have BMT, big match temperament, and you need to always perform at training, always perform at the match, and so there are things like player management as a coach. Of course, the role of a sports psychologist to take place, to counsel the player. Coaches can go far, but can there's a boundary where they can't go through. You know, in a player's mind or in a player's emotions, where sports psychologists can only go in and trigger those emotions. So I feel like it's a 50-50 kind of thing.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
player must also be interested in doing whatever sports psychology and therapy and so on to
Yeah, they
that.
need to be they need to hold themselves accountable, because you might find out that we signed you for over 90 million and we expect you to score 25 goals a year. and you have like 11 months not scoring a goal. That's a problem because you're wasting our money, you're wasting our finances and our time. So we need to understand, why are you not scoring 11 months and you training with us? At training you're scoring, but it's not happening in the field. So are we therefore gonna release you or sell you? And what's happening? Are you gonna step up and always score for us? Those kind of things. And that's how players come in and go out in teams.
Do you believe that we have enough sports facilities in our country to develop these young players to go into the system to play in the big leagues?
No, we do not. We do not invest in that. I'm gonna speak through experience, specifically football.
Okay.
The only facility that we call a top facility uh, for, for 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 channeling our kids into a high football system would be the School of Excellence, which there's only one School of
Is it
Excellence.
still
And
around?
yeah, it's still around, and it's no longer that strong because
Yeah.
the School of Excellence was top for giving us a Keegan Dolly, Stephen Pienaar, and all those players who have went up to the highest level. But then I think they are not a lot because I saw from Germany how they won the World Cup in the 2014 World Cup. The reason why they won it, in every province they had a School of Excellence, and from that School of Excellence they had kids coming through. Every province would play, those provinces would play tournament, and the top 16 teams in the league, the top league, the Bundesliga, would come and scout those players, and the first priority players would play for Bayern Munich, which is the top team in the land. Those players were molded, and they were put in the system, knowing that they in the next 4 years they're gonna win the World Cup, and which they actually did. And that system is still working even now. So imagine us if we had School of Excellence, say nine of them
Yeah.
in our 9 provinces.
Yeah.
That would be better, and the panel of or the pool or the roster of players would be increased, and the roster of coaches and technical staff, which are gifted, would increase, and the competition would increase. But then I don't know. Maybe I don't have that much knowledge on how to do it because there are other people with higher powers who can do that. But then our model is not the same as the European model, so we can't really take the European model and put it here.
I mean, post 2010, you think that we could do better with the amount of money that was left here in the country for sports, and we are still struggling. That's poor, man, and
Um,
sad, and it's really sad.
it is sad. 2010. I think I was going to grade 8. I
Yeah.
remember.
Mm.
I thought after the 2010 World Cup, things are gonna happen, like big things. We're gonna have super leagues. We're gonna have our national team is gonna be in the top 10. Um, players will be going overseas. The league will be so much better. Okay, it has evolved
Yeah.
with money, but quality hasn't really evolved. Our facilities will be developed, which they haven't. Because if you can go at a township, the stadiums and the grounds there, they still not developed, and you'd wonder what happened, what really happened. But of course, there's news people being corrupt and all that, which I'm not going to speak about a lot, but then
It's
we've seen
there.
in the news.
That's there.
Yeah, it's there. But then I think we would have been really far if we had proper management structures and people who are so devoted to the game and not being aligned to a political party or being aligned to politics and all that. So I think we would have been far.
Because to even think like what you were saying in the beginning, that they are also like government is looking to take away PT from children, and then you look at the fact that now we've went past the 2010 World Cup, and we still don't have a structure to develop players to go and play in Europe. Like if you look at things now, when a black child who plays sports, like right now, and goes and plays in Europe, they struggle. It's a big, they really, really, really struggle. And you wonder why. Why is it like that? You ask yourself.
I mean, it's talent identification also it's like that, and also there are systems. There are systems out there. I don't really know of them, but you can feel that there are systems.
Mhm.
You know,
Do you think these
and
systems are choosy in how they make their choices?
yeah, they are. Um, I think I've experienced it as a kid. When I was still playing. Where one kid with a higher socio-economic status or having money, uh, less talent, but I was talented and I was captain of the team. Um, was selected for um, to play to have a trial, not have a trial, to have three training assessments to be in the first team with vets,
Mm.
and I I didn't have that, you know, and I was wondering as a kid, but I didn't know how these things work because
Yeah.
I just thought, oh, maybe it's good enough. But then when you grow and outgrow certain things in life, you notice that okay, this really happened, but okay, I'm over it. But then I won't forget.
Mm.
So I think the systems, man, is really the system.
The system is killing the sport. I mean, when you look at the players right now, on the WhatsApp conversation when I texted you, I told you about the Michael Jordan documentary. So
Mm,
Michael Jordan, he noticed that he had a lot of skill, but he did not have the required strength. He felt that he didn't have enough strength to play his sports. Ne? So when the
mm,
season ended, he didn't go on holiday or go to party like some of our players do. Instead, he
yeah.
took the time and hired a coach or a trainer to train him post-season so that when he
Mm.
comes back, he can be a lot more stronger. I don't know how it works with our players here. Do you think that they are putting in enough time, like December, post those post season, to go and develop themselves so that when they come back into the game, they are much stronger? Do you think they are taking the initiative or to get themselves to become better players?
No, I don't think so. I wouldn't say most.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say all. I'd say
yeah,
most
yeah.
because there are some who are well conditioned, out of this world, optimal, less injuries, and
That's what, and all of that.
yeah, no, they take care of themselves. They don't invest in that. You know, I mean, a South African player, a typical South African player, get a paycheck today and tomorrow they want to blow it and want to go to clubs and all that. Wants to live the fast life, and he forgets that there's like three matches in a space of seven days, and the stuff like recovery, the stuff like traveling, which is depleting and it's tiring, um, and you wouldn't want to invest in that. But coming for holidays, they still wouldn't do that because there are a lot of players who come back overweight, and that is like this is like a shame to the conditioning coaches where they put in so much work and the postseason is just 1 month. Just for 1 month we come back, then you come back overweight, and it's not fair enough, you know. They have to do more work and more work and more work, and that also depletes the coach's strategy. Maybe he planned with this kind of player, and this player now is obese. This player is failing fitness tests. This player is now injury prone because of his weight, or he can't cover certain kilometers. You know, so they don't take care of themselves. I feel like they should, but as a coach, you can't control your players
No.
outside life because you're not their mom or their dad. It's just self intrinsic discipline.
Yeah, because it was very scary to see that players have uh, they get paid so much money, and
Mm,
then they don't have he or she does not have their own gym. But
mm,
when you look at athletes that are outside our country in Europe who are doing extremely well, like LeBron James and so on, they have their own gym within their houses, which shows you that they are willing to improve to become better players each and every year.
mm.
Why are we not doing that? Why are we not taking the time to invest in those things? I mean, how does a player become fat? Like like Bongani Zungu, who all of a sudden now they say he's overweight. Are we not teaching our players that they need to eat right and those things? Why are they not really investing? Is it money? What's the case?
I mean, I'd put it in a, let me say, a religious point of view. You can do, the Bible tells you to do things according to the law, but he wouldn't do it. So
Yeah.
there's a time where you'll slip up, but then not even in football, they will do everything according to the book for a certain time, and you'll slip up. So the coaches can invest a lot, like putting sports nutrition, bringing dietitians, bringing top people who are experts, and it still wouldn't work out because you're feeding the players at the facility, because they'll be having lunch meetings there, they'll be having pre-match meals there, they'll be having post-match meals. But when the player goes home, I mean, the fridge is something else,
Yeah.
and you'd be shocked, you know, because they
Mm.
they and all that kind of stuff, which is realistic. And players who invest in gyms, there are not a lot of them. One player I do have has a gym by his house, so we do a lot of work there. And but when I'm not there, he does some stuff for himself also, which is good. Which doesn't really need babysitting, because he knows where he wants to be.
So basically, the responsibility will be onto the player to make sure that they 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 get themselves all these things and the basic knowledge of nutrition also.
Yes, yes. Those basics. I think there will be a responsibility for the dietitian, or the team nutritionist, or the coaches who are knowledgeable with certain uh, basic rules of nutrition, and just explain this does what, this does what, this
Yeah.
does what, this does what, this element does this. This is good for your recovery. This is good for your muscle gain. This is good for your endurance. This is good for your sleep. You know, that's why I think it can be a hefty thing to do, but which is very essential.
Yeah, because some players don't even know the importance of sleep. They they they,
Yeah,
they, they don't know I don't know, they just rely on talent alone, and which is not which can only take you this far, I guess.
I think sleep is very important, but like we said, the lifestyle of our athletes is not gonna intertwine with the sleeping pattern. You know,
Mm.
but sleep is very good. There's a lot of regeneration there. There's a lot of waste outage there. There's a lot of um, um, homeostasis there that is happening in the body, and you feel fresh, you feel aligned, sleeping for several periods, sleeping, knowing that you have a benefit for it, and it's good for the mind. It lessens burnout, it lessens injury, it lessens a lot of things, and I feel like players need to invest in that. But I feel there are top institutes that reprimand their, or that obligate their players to sleep. Like
Mm.
for example, a Man City obligates their players to sleep by taking them into a chamber for cryotherapy, ice therapy. They get in there for 2 minutes, minus 30 degrees. They close them in the cryotherapy chamber, and that thing releases something we call serotonin. It's a hormone for sleeping.
Yes.
And of course, when you come out of that chamber, you are very sleepy, and you want to go to bed and you sleep, and that's okay because you need to sleep. I mean, yeah, in life we do have problems and we stress and we can't sleep sometimes. Um, that's what they do. Adverts we used to do, give our players chamomile tea, and it relaxes them and they go to sleep.
Do we have those kind of things here that you know of for players to use?
No, I don't think there are a lot of teams. I think maybe Sundowns has a cryotherapy chamber.
Okay.
Because of course
We advanced.
their financial muscle is there. But for other teams now, they just invest in things like ice baths, um, foam rolling, those kind of things, and just
Yeah.
yeah. But I've discovered chamomile tea works because it relaxes the nerves, the muscles, and the mind, and it triggers sleep.
When you look at our sports in our country and you look at the sports in Europe, why would you think that a lot of players are failing when they move over to Europe and they are like soccer players, for instance? They go there, they only last for a season and they come back home. What do you think is causing that?
I think the first thing is the lifestyle, and of course the 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 the, the demographic situation that they're in, the atmosphere. You move from a hot place like South Africa, you go to a cold place like England in the UK, very cold, and you like, no, this is not good enough for me. I don't like it here. And of course the accents, the food, the rules, um, the making of friends, the discipline to be alone, those kind of things. It makes you want to come back, and it's difficult. But I feel like you need a lot of resilience, and to build resilience, like we said, you need a lot of mental strength, and that's the reason why we have to play sport. But I feel like players like who've enjoyed there, Abu Penny McCarthy and Abu Stephen Pienaar, who played over 5, 6 seasons there in the English Premier League, have done very well. But then, of course, there are players who we had high hopes for who didn't make it, and it's sad. But then I just also feel like it's lifestyle and also um, routines and sleeping patterns. You might find out that when you in South Africa we're sleeping at 8 p.m., but that side now it's 2 p.m. You like surprised and you feel tired, but you can't, and you have to go to training, and that oozes off that depletes your mood, and you feel so aggressive and agitated, and you just want to come back.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. But when you look at some of these players, like both Steven Pienaar and Benny McCarthy, they went there when they were very young, maybe
Mm,
18, 16, 18, 20.
mm,
That's why maybe like Keegan Dolly, for instance, I think they are making it there because they went there at a young age. But
mm.
the development structures in our country are so slow that by the time a European club wants one of our players, they are already 25 or 26,
Yeah, yeah.
and that's they're old already. And for to give them the opportunity to adjust to the environment in Europe, they struggle.
Yeah, I think it's adaptative conditions and also comfortability. You might find a boy from a location who comes from a location and signs with a Mamelodi Sundowns academy, gets a tracksuit, gets a bag,
Yeah,
comes back, Kolokshin, he thinks he's a top dog now. He's comfortable
he
and
wears
he
the
doesn't.
whole. He wears that
Yeah,
uniform Monday to Monday. Everybody must
if
see him.
that, and then his friends call him General,
Yeah,
and he's only 12 years old,
yeah.
and he's big headed and he doesn't perform. exceptionally, and then it takes time for his potential to grow, and because he's been lied to and he's being hyped up, which diminishes or makes him blind to see where he can be at the next 5 years. I'd be proud like players like Kamohelo Mokocho, who left here when he was 10 and now is still doing well overseas because
Mm.
he took that chance from moving from super sport and going that side to Netherlands and playing there, and these kind of things like question our development structures. Is it the coaches that are slow to accelerate the development, or is it the players who don't want to accelerate the development? Because sometimes it might be the coaches who just play and don't who just play and their team wins 12-0,
Yeah.
and they tell everyone that they're good, they're good, but there was no video analysis there. There was no technical corrections. There was no strategic analysis, those kind of things to tell, okay, you did well, but I feel like you could assist more. I'm not saying you're not good enough. I'm saying you did well, but you can do more. So those kind of things, and that's the strategy on performance analysis. And for us to enhance our development structures, we need to add more video analysis because players enjoy seeing themselves. And you like, Yabona, you're the one who made us lose this game because you didn't position yourself better in this defensive phase, or you didn't kick the ball properly in this attacking phase, or you didn't make the run because you were too tired. And when I told you, even if you're tired, you need to run. And that pushes the players like, I did the mistake. I acknowledge my mistake, even if we won the game or we lost
Yeah.
the game.
But not everybody wants to take that responsibility of saying, I messed up. I
Yeah.
messed up for the team. Could have done better. Again, I don't think everyone is willing to take that responsibility.
They would tell you, a kid would say, "Coach angithandi, angibahle."
Mm.
Doesn't want me. He's against me. Every time he blames me. But bruh, the coach can see because he has a detailed eye. He has a detailed eye and he can see the game from the bench. And
Yeah.
when you see the game from the bench, it's more analytical than when you're inside because it's congested, because
Mm.
there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of mistakes you can do.
Mm.
So if you got gonna say that, you'll never grow as a player. You'll never go far.
Mm. So when you are doing your video analysis, what exactly are you looking at? Just I heard you speak about it just now. Just repeat it again. What are you looking at, and how are you taking what you see in the videos and taking it into the pitch to improve?
Firstly, we do let's say individual analysis. We do individual analysis with would break it down to things like we call key performance indicators, KPIs.
Okay.
Those key performance indicators, we break them down to physical, psychological, tactical, and technical.
Okay.
Um, uh, with the physical, with the psychological, we would see concentration, anticipation, and all that because it's all in the brain. So if the player, from the first minute, yeah, for maybe 15 minutes in the game, his concentration levels were so high, and now they squad the team, and now his head is looking down. You would highlight it. Why is your head looking down? Can you see
Mm.
your body language how it is? It's not responding physically. So
Okay.
you'd code that and saying, no, but you look, you now shouting players and blaming everyone, and you saying that you are a team player, and it's gonna be not gonna be like that, you know. And then we have team analysis, or how we are in a shape. So if we play something like a 4-4-2, for the first 15 minutes, we check, okay, we're still keeping our structure 4-4-2, but why now in the 20th minute are we losing our shape? Are we fatigued? Is it the physical point of view? Are we not communicating from a psychological point of view? Are we not focused from a psychological point of view? Those are the things you need to code. And those are the things that the team needs to discuss also, because a video analysis is not only a coach saying you did this, you did it. Everyone would be like, I think this one should have been here. Because proper coaching is letting players implement ideas also. Because players are coaches in the field also. Because you don't know what they're saying. They might sabotage your work or they might enhance your work. because the game is not for the coaches. The game is for the players, and the players have control of the game. So with those KPIs, the coach would do that. And then we have opponent analysis. Opponent analysis, we see how their strategy is. If they're playing a 4-4-2 or 4-3-3, we say, okay, since we're playing a 4-4-2 or against a 4-3-3, I think we'd match them this way. I think our right winger is stronger than their right back. Why is our right winger stronger than their left back? Um, um, to be correct. Um, why is because their left winger is not strong. Their left back is not strong with his right foot. So we'd rather block his left leg. Technically, that's technical analysis added. We'd rather block his left leg and take the ball to the right leg, knowing that he'll be wobbly. And after we press that ball and we take that ball away and we go straight to the pole. Every time when you defend, don't defend on his right leg. Defend on the left leg so that he can take the ball to the right leg. And as a team, let's see, okay, now we're going to play against jersey number 3, who is a left back. And coach said, if he has the ball on his left leg, I need to press the left leg so that he can take it to the right leg so that we can take the ball and score. So that's how we analyze games. And of course, we have unit analysis. Unit analysis would be um, the unit, the back line, the midfield, the strikers. What kind of combinations are good? If our 2 central defenders that we've picked have not conceded goals in the in the past 10 games, that's our key from the data we see. But why is our combination with these 2 center backs not working? So when you're picking a starting lineup, we say no, we take these ones who haven't conceded 10 goals in a while, because these ones are not doing well. We check our striker combinations. Since these 2 are playing together, they have scored 20 goals and 10 each, or whatever the share, And our midfielders, since we have our 2 midfielders, these are the assists, and we'll start with these midfielders. So that's unit analysis.
No, I get it. So right now, a lot of players have been at home for a while. What happens when they get back into the pitch? What kind of conditioning and strength work? How do you prioritize their training when coming back from like a layoff like this one, like a COVID layoff?
I think basically they've been doing Zoom sessions, or they've been prescribed programs, and those programs are general adaptation phase programs. They are general work. They are general work programs where you do non-specific exercises to the sport to get the adaptation. So a 2K run in the street, which is not football specific, where you just run, or do cycling, you do rowing, just to get the heart pumping and all that. You do push-ups, squats, just to get the muscle going and all that. Then, of course, when they come back to training, we'll have a specific adaptation phase where there's specific training that's happening to the sports. Now we do field work, which is related to kilometers being covered, of course, with players. In football, you have to cover 10 to 12 Ks in a match. So the work that we do would be covering 10 to 12K per training session, which is 1 hour, 30 minutes, which the conditioning coach has to be very smart with doing that. And then there's also competition phase training, where now we do 11 against 11 in the field, or we do strength and conditioning specific to the game situations. We do our loading sessions where we take speed, we take agility, we take our power, we just polish it, and increase the intensity. So that's what they can do, and take it slowly each and every time. But they shouldn't rush, because if they do it quick. If they do it quick, there's a high possibility that they might get injured.
How long would you say is the right time for them to start? How would you program your players' sessions since when they come back, the 11 aside part? would you do it after 2 weeks or 3 months, or how do you go around the planning for those kind of things?
I mean, the 12, basically, of course, you would know something called periodization.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The periodization model comes in different ways.
Okay.
But now it's very challenging and interesting for us as coaches post-COVID lockdown to understand what can you really do, because for example, the PSL only had 3 weeks to come back, and then you're like, what can I do in these 3 weeks for my players to get the proper adaptation? Because if I increase the volume or I increase the intensity, my players might be depleted quickly, or my players might get injured. A lot of, especially soft tissue or muscular injuries. So for me, I'd play around with intensities. I really play around with intensities, where the first week we come in as a unit, or we come in as a unit. We do a lot. We do low level stuff, like playing 11v11, because it's a big space, and it's gonna be slower. But then you're not gonna run more kilometers, because there are players who are gonna block you, and
Mm.
you're not gonna make those big sprints. Then of course we still do our jogs, we still do our recreational running, we still do our um, mechanical training, like fixing our movement patterns, doing fun stuff like um, your back rolls, your T rotations, um, and then of course there's testing that has to happen. But
Mm.
the testing will come from, I'd start with general phase testing. General would be non-specific to the sport,
Okay.
but we just check if the players still have the base.
Okay.
Would be stuff like beep tests would happen to check if the base is still there before we move to things like yo-yo test or 30-15 intermittent fitness tests. So with that, we do our push-up test to check upper body strength if our players are still
Okay.
okay.
Capable.
We
Yeah.
do, yeah, functional motion testing. We check their movement patterns if they're still okay. But at the same time, we still play football. The second week, we move on we increase the bar now.
Okay.
We do 7 against 7. Now there are bigger spaces to attack, and you have to run in those bigger spaces. Of course, the speed will increase, the speed endurance will increase, the speed and agility will increase, the aerobic power will increase, of course. But and also we want to make lactic threshold our friend, because lactic acid is building up. But we want
Mm.
to make it our friend and make it an energy system, because lactic buildup comes in a football match where you see players now sitting down, cramping, and all that. So we want to build that also. And
Yeah.
then week 3, which will be our final week before our football match, would be doing a lot of would be doing a lot of before that. Actually, week 2 would still add things like lifting. Would do a lot of cable work before lifting, cable work, band work, um, uh, um, let me see, stuff like med ball work, stuff like prehab work, just to get things going before we get injuries, before we lift bigger. Then after the third week, we do activation work, where your plyometrics would come in, because it's not heavy stuff.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
plyometrics come in, your activations like quick speed and agility would come in, finishing, and we still do a lot of yoga, or a lot of flexibility, a lot of regeneration work, or recovery work, and also load up with a lot of recovery supplements,
Yeah.
knowing that we're going to the game, we're still fresh, and
Yeah.
we ran, and we're ready.
Do you think that it will be key also for players to have a bit of strength in them? Because Gopola, when I was in the 2010 World Cup, I met some of our soccer players, and I would
Mm.
look at their body structure. Some will they look as if there's a big wind that will come about. The wind will push them away.
Yeah.
So because they have not done any form of resistance training or any strength work, I think they're just easy. They can be easily pushed away. If you look at players like in the Ivory Coast players, those guys they look powerful. They really look powerful. Why 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 do you think they show the importance of strength work?
I think the West Africans are genetically gifted with their
Okay.
musculature.
Yeah.
And us South Africans, DNA wise, we lean and we small.
Yeah.
Either you lean small or you obese.
Yeah.
Those are the two genetical traits of South Africans. And also I've seen at the Nike Academy in Europe, the under 15s had to invest a lot in their SNC, their strength and conditioning, for under 15, under 16, under 17, because 17 years old, of course, Europe, you'll go pro. So in those two phases, 2 years of your life, you need to bulk up and you need to fix your movement patterns. If not, you out of the academy, because every week they test.
Yeah.
Every week they test your jump velocity. They test your lifting strength. They test your repeated sprints. So you need to be in order to get that pro contract. But in South Africa, the reason why we don't do it because we have certain myths. Hey, lifting will make you look shorter. You won't grow taller. It's painful. But there are
Rubbish.
certain bases or methodologies of training. That's why
Mm.
sport is very important for kids to learn movement patterns as they're
Yeah.
kids, know how to squat when they're still 9.
Yeah.
Actually, when they're still 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And then when they get to an under 14, doing resistant band work only, you can see, okay, this is a proper squat. Or pipe, just using a pipe. Tell them to do a drop snatch, or just 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 do a lunge. You'd see a kid's knee just going
Yeah.
wobbly, and
Wobbly.
what has this kid been doing his whole life or her whole life?
Mm.
You know, so I think it's very important. But there are teams that invest in that, like Sundowns, Super Sports, Orlando Pirates, Vets. We used to do it. Well, I hated it because sometimes it was sore sessions, especially I understood eccentric sessions. We'd have eccentric sessions where we had to tear a lot of muscle
Yeah.
in order to gain muscle,
Yeah.
especially for hamstring because they are the most used muscles in football. So it was sore because tomorrow I was feeling sore, but I didn't understand, you know. So with that, I feel it's really important to do it, and I feel like uh, a lot of teams should invest in it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that point. If we take the time to invest in those things, we can develop our players to be a lot more better than what they are now,
Mm,
without
mm.
without wasting any more time. But I really appreciate you making time for me to have a chat about this. Before we leave, there are dynamic I have a dynamic Q&A for you, dynamic questions that I always give to my guests when the show gets to the end. The first one is, if you had an opportunity to have lunch with anyone in the world who is still alive, who would that person be and why?
For me, it has to be Steve Compella.
Okay.
It has to be him because of his wisdom. That man has a lot to say. I feel like he has a lot of leadership skills, and I relate to him totally, you know. And I feel like a coffee or lunch would be enough for me to fully grasp a little bit of 5% of his mind, not
Yeah.
100%, because it will take like several years to
Mm,
happen.
mm.
But just listen to his 5% of his mind of what he has about life, what he has about football, and all that. So that's for me, Steve Compella.
Mm. If you had to buy anyone a book, which book would that be and why?
Oof, I've read a lot of books and they're good books. Uh,
Okay,
I
give me two.
think
Give me two. Give me two books.
um, the one is when life gives you lemons, and the second one is
Who's that book from? Who do you know the
I remember
author? Do you
author,
remember the author?
the author,
Okay.
and then the other one is Another Way of Winning by Pep
Okay.
Guardiola.
Okay.
Those books inspire me because especially when life gives you lemons, when there's lemons and there's turmoil in your life, you need to make lemonade out of the sour situation that you're in. And then another way of winning is not only by football but by life. Um, how you get out of turmoil, how you manage success, how you how you remain flat like a platform, how your form remains flat and consistent. So that's how I'd see it. And I'd buy it for my colleague. I'd buy it for Phiwe. Yeah,
You'd fight
yeah,
for her. Yeah,
yeah.
because I think it's really interesting to find out what people are reading. I'll have a look at that one. Another way of living, Pap
Of
Guardiola.
winning.
Yeah.
Another
Now
way of winning.
another way of winning. Okay. Now
Yeah.
I'll check it out. What's quote or slogan? Quote or slogan do you live by or do you like?
Um, I live by the one effort. That's it.
Mm.
You gotta get effort. Effort is aligned to success, and failure is also the same way as success because it is measured by effort. You know, even though you didn't get what you want, but as long as you tried, it's almost the same as success. As long as
Mm.
you put in the effort, because effort is the common denominator for everything. For now that we are talking together right now, there is effort that's happening. So for me, it's effort.
Mm. So in that way, you get to base whether you base your metric of success by your standards, not by anybody else. No,
So
I like
yeah,
that you
yeah,
you see success as the way you put effort in the things that you do. Okay,
sure.
last question. How would you like to be remembered, Mr. Mabena? How would you
I
like to
think
be?
I'd, I'd like to be remembered, of course, firstly as a person who's contributed a lot to sports, to football, and also as a giver of opportunities and someone who finds himself not too important to be nice to people and to be kind. That's what I want, you know.
Mm.
Yeah,
Malida, thank you very much for making the time to chat with us.
yeah,
It was extremely great. I hope that we will get an opportunity sometime to see each other in person because my goal here is to build relationship and share information with people.
sure, sure, no problem. Thank you very much for having me on your platform.
Thank you very much, my brother.